Excuse me. Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I always appreciate your time. Hope you're doing well. Let's talk a bit about Joshua Buatsi and Dan Azzeez, because their fight a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday? I lose track of time. It was announced it's going to be on Sky. Ben Shalom is promoting, boxer are promoting. And I think this is a really interesting matchup. And I believe the two of them are quite good friends. And they're both, I think, signed to Boxer. Certainly Buatsi was given the full fanfare when he moved over from DAZN. Now, we have to take it, these are quite contrasting fighters, and their careers have gone in, I suppose, an upwards trajectory, but in different they've had different pathways, if you know what I mean. Because Buatsi was an Olympian, turned pro with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. This is when they were still with Sky. He's from Croydon in London. Originally, I think he was born in Accra, Ghana. He's currently 17 wins with 13 knockouts, no defeats, no draws, and he's former British champion. Very, very talented. And yeah, I think had he come to an agreement with Eddie Hearn, had the offer been right, he'd have probably stayed. But he was complaining that DAZN, no one watches DAZN, and he wanted to go back to Sky and all this. So he went over there and signed, apparently for big money, with Boxer. Dan Azzeez, by the way, Buatsi is now 30. So you could say he's in his prime, or he should be in his prime. Dan Azzeez had a very different journey. He's 33, so he's 3 years older. I think he's shorter. He's about 5'10", and Buatsi is about 6'1" or 6'2", maybe. Certainly when you see them interviewed side by side, that you get the feeling that Buatsi is his dimensions are very much longer, bigger, taller, whatever. But Dan Azzeez he seemed to sort of start late. He turned pro in 2017, so that would have made him 27. So he wasn't a young man when he turned pro. You would think he was playing catch up in some respects. But he's had a very, very successful career so far, because he's won the English, the British, the Commonwealth and the EBU titles. And I think whereas Buatsi in his most recent fights has kind of underachieved a little, or been less than, but it's been a bit subpar. Azzeez seems to have some real momentum, and he's definitely overachieved in his career. And when you look at his style, I mean, he reminds me a little bit of Marvin Hagler, not so much in the skills department. He hasn't got Hagler's skills, but he has that same self-belief and that same mentality, and he's kind of idolises Hagler as well. I can see why he would do that, where it's the attitude, the mentality, seek and destroy. And he talked about Derek Chisora with war on his hat. Those who remember Hagler Hearns will know that Hagler wore a red cap with war written on it. He was the first one to call himself, or use that word in a boxing sense. But Azzeez, like I say, momentum. I mean, he's had one fight so far in which was an 8-rounder over in Italy, just to sort of keep busy, which is a really good sign that he is prepared to go abroad, do a little 8-rounder, keep his tools nice and sharp. Prior to that, he won the EBU title with Thomas Fowler, I think the guy's name was, a Frenchman. He stopped him in the last round, in the 12th round. He beat up Rocky Fielding to win the Lonsdale belt outright. I think that was his final defence. Stopped Fielding in 8. Fielding didn't see much better days, but up at light heavy, a bit big for Fielding. But that was in the 8th round. Then he beat Shakan Pitters over 12. Pitters is a very, very tall man, which is interesting because Buatsi is also tall. I think Pitters is about 6'6" or something like that. Not much taller than Buatsi, probably about 3 or 4 inches taller. About 6 inches more than that, probably 8 inches taller than Dan Azzeez. But that was a good win. That was a very good win for Dan Azzeez. And he beat, Reece Cartwright. That was an 8-round stoppage. Hosea Burton. He won the British title against a man who was kind of quite fancied to win the fight. Was Hosea Burton, but he knocked him out in 7 rounds. That was a good win. So yeah, he's been on a real run since. The Hosea Burton fight was in 2021, towards the end of 2021. So in less than 2 years, he's had 6 fights, I think. By the time he gets in the ring, which is in October the 21st, I think, with Buatsi, that will be his 7th fight in 2 years, something like that. I mean, that's the sort of, you know, momentum you need, especially if you're the age he is, because he's 33. He had to get his skates on, and he did it. He did it, you know. And he has a very aggressive, physically strong style. What he lacks in finesse and a little bit of technique, he makes up for in that constant pressure. And again, we talk about it being mental pressure, psychological pressure, as well as physical pressure. So I really like Azeez. I think he's one of my favourite British fighters, you know, and I think he's a threat to Buatsi. But there's no doubt Buatsi has, again, apart from being taller and, you know, longer and all the rest of it, he has a superior schooling, a superior technique. But he's kind of flagged a bit of late, because his last fight was a 10-rounder against Pavel Stepian, undefeated, and he beat him over 10 rounds. It was a dull fight, very dull fight, and Buatsi looked flat. There's no other way to say it. He looked uninspired and very flat. But prior to that, he beat Craig Richards over 12, and that's a good win. Richards is a good fighter. Richards, of course, was coming off a distance fight with Dimitri Bivol. He is definitely, Richards is someone who gained confidence as his career has gone on, whereas Buatsi it was a decent enough performance against Richards, but nowhere near as good as the previous fight, which was against Ricard's Bolotniks. And Bolotniks is a rough and tumble guy who will physically manhandle you and, you know, maul you if you let him. And Buatsi showed a lot in that fight, but that was back in 2021. You see, in the last 2 years, Azeez has had 7 fights, and, well, this will be the 7th against Buatsi. Dan Azeez will be only the fourth fight for Buatsi in 2 years, over 2 years. So, even though he showed a lot against Bolotniks, and he got rid of Daniel Dos Santos, I think the guy's name is, he did him in 4 rounds, and he was looking like beginning to look like a bit of a killer. And they do say that, form is temporary and talent is permanent, and I take that on board with Joshua Buatsi. But nevertheless, there's no doubt that the momentum and probably the confidence level and the motivation, the fire, if you like, seems to be with Dan Azeez. So I'm wondering if they're going to meet in the middle. I'm not going to do a prediction now, but I wonder if they'll meet in the middle, and this has got good fight written all over it. It's possible it could develop into a little maul fest, but I don't know. I think this is a good fight, and I was pleased when it was announced. Like I say, it's 21st of October this year, so keep a lookout for it. And let me know, who do you think is going to win? What are your first impressions? Like I say, I won't do a prediction thing yet. I mean, it could be cancelled. It's a couple of months, 2 months. It might as well be 20 years in boxing. You know what happens, don't you? I mean, look what happened with Dillian White failing the drugs test, 5 days out. But yeah, comments below if you got any. Let's hear your thoughts. What do you think about their respective careers, where they're going? Who do you make as an initial favourite? I think this is two contrasting men, two contrasting styles coming together. Very interesting. Anyway, like I say, comments below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the like button, spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing, and thanks as always for your time, and bye for now.